When we hear children laughing, singing, and playing, or see a baby being rocked to sleep, their innocence warms our hearts. Each child is a precious gift from God and deserves our guidance, love, and appreciation. As many churches look to expand their children's ministries, it's important to recognize that when youngsters are in the care of your organization, you take on full responsibility for their safety and protection. To help ensure your church and staff members are taking the proper steps to safeguard children, the Guide 1 Center for Risk Management created this training module to focus on nursery, daycare, and playground safety. We've also brought in a special team of experts to assist us with this presentation. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Before we discuss a number of specific steps you can take to enhance child safety, let's start with a few general guidelines. If your church is considering starting a daycare or is currently operating one, it's a good idea to talk with a local attorney about the pros and cons of forming a separate entity, such as a corporation, and creating a special board to oversee the operation. And make sure the insurance agent for your church is aware of any nursery, daycare, or playground on site, so the proper insurance can be obtained. When it comes to daycares and some nurseries, there are often licensing and certification requirements imposed by state and local jurisdictions. Check into these requirements carefully and follow them when applicable. In addition, consider how you will handle children with disabilities, special needs, and those who require medication. Finally, consult with your attorney about the Americans with Disabilities Act and any local human rights laws and how they may impact your child care operation. With these thoughts in mind, we'll touch on some key steps. First, staffing your operation properly.
We need great people.
Obviously, the staff members of a daycare and nursery, whether they are paid employees or volunteers, have extremely important jobs and play critical roles in maintaining a safe and secure environment for the children. Considerations for staffing include the following. Be sure to designate or hire one qualified person as the director of your child care operations and establish clear lines of authority and accountability for the staff. At churches, the director can either be an employee or volunteer, depending on the job requirements and your organization's structure. But it's important to have one person who is ultimately in charge with both authority and responsibility. Make sure this person is thoroughly screened and their references checked. The director and your church leaders should establish written guidelines for selecting, screening, and hiring child care workers. To assist your church with the volunteer selection process, Safe Church offers a variety of helpful forms and documents you can download and use. We also recommend watching the Act to Keep Children's Ministry Safe training module. When selecting paid employees, the screening process should be even more thorough and formalized. Recommended elements include written job descriptions, a written job application, reference checks, personal interview, criminal background check, an employee handbook that covers your employment practices such as hiring, pay, benefits, employee conduct, discipline, and termination of employment. Also, if you feel a worker needs to be terminated at some point, it's best to consult with an employment attorney before letting the person go. If teenagers under the age of 18 will be working with children, you will not be able to conduct background checks on them due to their age. Therefore, increase other aspects of the screening process, such as checking references for babysitting or their volunteer work with children in the past. Workers who are minors should always be supervised by adults, and if minors receive pay, be aware of federal and state child labor laws. Once again, many of the forms you'll need for selecting and screening workers are available on this website.
Training and policies.
It's also important for your church to train all workers and establish written policies so proper procedures are understood by everyone. For example, training programs and policies should be developed for first aid and CPR, child safety, including prevention of abuse and neglect, emergency preparedness and disaster response, proper lifting techniques and worker safety, diapering and bathroom procedures, medications and allergies, discipline, and accident and incident reporting.
Watch it carefully.
Supervision is another key. If you operate a daycare or nursery, be sure to check local and state requirements for mandatory staff-to-child ratios. In general, we recommend these minimum ratios. For children 2 weeks to 2 years old, the adult-to-child ratio is 1:4. For 2-year-olds, it's 1:6. At age 3, it's 1:8. At age 4, it's 1:12. And for 5 years and older, it's 1:15. Whenever possible, consider increasing the number of workers beyond these levels, especially during high-risk activities, such as when the children go outside or are on the playground. Another important guideline for supervision is to never allow isolated, one-on-one situations where a child or youth is alone with a worker. Where possible, adhere to the 2-adult rule, in which 2 unrelated adult workers are always present when children are being supervised or instructed during programs and activities. This practice can significantly reduce the risk of child abuse, as well as the potential for false accusations. And in the event of an injury, one adult will be able to assist the child while the other adult calls for help and watches the other children. At a minimum, avoid isolated settings involving just one child and one worker.
Civil safety.
For daycares, nurseries, and playgrounds, facility safety is yet another extremely important concern. We'll discuss guidelines for daycare and nursery facilities first, then move on to playgrounds. It seems like we've all read frightening news reports about a child being abducted from a facility. While those incidents are rare, they illustrate the need for proper security and ways to control access to child care operations. Whether you have a daycare, nursery, or both on site, they should be located in a part of the building which is well suited for children, secure, and features a way to control who comes and goes from the area. Here are a few of the ways to enhance facility security. Create one central point to enter and exit the area and keep all other exterior doors locked. Control access to the area with a staffed greeting station. Install an electronic door lock at the main entry with either a keypad code, card, or intercom system. Make sure a staff member can see who is entering and exiting the area, and, if possible, install a video camera monitoring system with cameras in appropriate areas, such as the entryway, classrooms, and nursery. Another critical step for security is to establish a check-in and check-out procedure for children in the church's care. One easy and effective way to do this is to use the child check approach. The child is signed in by a parent or guardian who receives a child check, similar to a claim check. Upon returning to pick up the child, the parent or guardian must present the child check in order to sign out and leave with the child. If the adult does not have a child check upon arrival, a church leader must be contacted, and it will be their responsibility to determine whether to release the child. Room design is another important consideration for safe nurseries and daycares. In general, all activities involving children should be highly visible to people in hallways outside the classroom, and the entry door to the room should never be locked when individuals are inside. To ensure good visibility, glass windows should be present or installed on the doors, next to the doors, or on the walls looking into the classroom. Increased visibility decreases opportunities for isolation. Any room or area in the church that is used for childcare should be inspected on a weekly basis to identify potential hazards. Weekly inspections should be conducted by the child care director or another qualified individual. To assist with detailed inspections, you'll find 3 documents on this website: Daycare and Nursery Inspections, Daycare and Nursery Equipment Safety, and Daycare and Nursery Toy Safety. During a general inspection of a child care area, here are a few examples of what to look for. Are diapering areas kept separate from the children's play areas? Are doors to closets and adjoining rooms kept locked? Are drapery and blind cords out of the reach of children so they don't pose a hazard? are furniture pieces such as shelves anchored to the wall to prevent them from tipping over and falling on a child. Are bottle warming procedures in place that will prevent children from burn injuries? Is a first aid kit present and fully stocked? Are cleaning supplies and other dangerous products kept in locked cabinets? Are smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors installed in each room and functioning properly? And are all electrical outlets protected with child-proof safety covers? The equipment used in child care areas should be inspected as well. For instance, changing tables for babies should have a protective barrier on all four sides to prevent rolling, a safety belt or strap to further prevent a baby from falling, and built-in drawers or shelves for convenient storage so the baby is never left unattended to retrieve supplies. The equipment safety document on this website provides more detailed guidelines about other equipment, including bassinets and cradles, cribs, gates and enclosures, high chairs, pacifiers, playpens, strollers, toy chests, and walkers. The toys children are allowed to play with is another safety concern. Please refer to the toy safety document on this website for details about toy selection and inspection. As a rule of thumb, safety should always be the top priority when either purchasing new toys or accepting donated toys for your child care operations. As a few examples of key concerns, all toys should be age appropriate. Toys should be large enough so they cannot be put into a child's mouth, nose, or ears. All moving parts should be securely attached, and toys should be cleaned regularly to keep them sanitary. Also, it's wise to make sure toys have not been recalled by visiting the Consumer Product Safety Commission website.
Medication.
In the church nursery setting, only the parent should give their child medication. For the daycare setting, medication should only be dispensed by staff with training, and the following guidelines should apply. Medication should be given only when the failure to take it jeopardizes the health of the participant or when it prevents the child from attending an event or activity. Provide staff training on medication administration using qualified instructors. Injections such as EpiPens or insulin should only be given by those with specific medical training on injections. Develop written procedures for the dispensing, storage, authorization, and recording of all prescription and non-prescription medications, including the following. All medications should be stored in their original containers with accompanying physician or pharmacist directions and the label intact. All medications should be stored so they are inaccessible to children and the public, preferably in a locked cabinet. Non-prescription medications should be labeled with the child's name, and expiration dates should be visible. The parent or guardian must provide written permission for the administration of medication per physician order. They must also disclose in writing if the child has known allergies. The initial dose of a new medication should be given at home in case of an allergic reaction. A medication administration form should be initiated that clearly states the child's name, known allergies, and other pertinent information. For every day an authorization for medication is in effect and the child is in attendance, there should be a notation of administration including the name of the medication, date, time, dosage given or applied, location if topical, and the initials of the person administering the medication or the reason the medication was not given. In cases of medications that are administered on an ongoing long-term basis, authorization should be obtained for a period not to exceed the duration of the prescription. Expired medication should not be administered, but instead should be returned to the parent or guardian for proper disposal. Maintain files of recorded documents in a secure location according to your policy.
Playground safety.
Every year, about 200,000 kids are treated in hospital emergency rooms due to playground-related injuries. Even more tragic, approximately 15 children die per year because of falls or strangulation on playgrounds. Since the risk of playground injuries is high, it's critical for your organization to recognize and minimize the dangers of a playground located on church property. Once again, this website offers an excellent resource document called Playground Safety, which provides detailed guidelines. Here are a few of the highlights. If your church is building a playground, choose the best location and layout. For instance, children should not have to cross a parking lot to get to the playground. And create appropriate boundaries around the playground, such as a fence or landscape hedges, so children don't wander off and strangers can't enter the area unnoticed. Proper equipment selection is equally as important. Install only commercial-grade playground equipment and do not use less sturdy equipment designed for residential use. Avoid having any type of hazardous equipment, such as spring-loaded rocking animals, exercise rings, glider swings that hold more than one child, merry-go-rounds, monkey bars, swinging ropes, or trampolines. Choose equipment that is appropriate for the children's age groups, such as 2 to 5-year-olds and 6 to 12-year-olds, and keep age-specific equipment a good distance apart. Since nearly 70% of all playground injuries are caused when children fall, be sure to install and maintain a shock-absorbing surface in and around playground equipment. Asphalt and concrete are not suitable for playground surfaces, and soil, grass, and turf are not recommended. Instead, surfaces around the playground equipment should have at least 9 to 12 inches of wood chips, mulch, sand, or pea gravel. Synthetic surfacing made of safety-tested rubber is another good alternative. The protective surface should extend at least 6 feet in all directions beyond the play equipment. For swings, surfacing should extend in the front and back twice the height of the suspending bar. Develop an inspection and maintenance schedule for the entire playground. The frequency of use, type of equipment, and weather conditions should all be considered. For instance, during warm weather when the playground is busy, inspect the equipment once a week. If any damaged or worn parts are found on equipment, have repairs made immediately. A detailed checklist for inspections is included in the playground safety document we mentioned earlier, but here are a few highlights about what to look for. Make sure there are no sharp points, corners, or edges on any piece of equipment. All nuts and bolts should have lock washers and self-locking nuts to prevent them from becoming loose. To reduce the risk of entrapment, there should be no openings on equipment that measure between 3.5 and 9 inches. Check for broken or missing pieces on handrails, guardrails, protective barriers, steps, or rungs on ladders. Be sure all S-hooks are squeezed closed and in good condition with no visible signs of corrosion or weakness. Walk around the playground and look for any broken glass or other dangerous debris. Inspect the playground's protective surface to determine if it has become compacted or insufficient in high-traffic areas. Add more surfacing if necessary. Finally, as mentioned earlier, close supervision is always needed when children are on the playground. All supervisors should have a good understanding of playground safety and receive training. Knowledge about playground hazards, first aid, and the proper procedures for handling injuries and responding to emergencies is critical. Supervisors should also carry cell phones so they can call 911 or a church leader if necessary. We hope these guidelines and tips have been informative and will help keep your church's youngest members a whole lot safer. We also encourage you to take advantage of the resources available on the website for additional details. All of the hard work, time, and patience you devote to your children's ministries are greatly appreciated by the entire congregation. And that includes the little people who depend on you.
Thank you.
Take care and God bless.